आखिरी सेट है XAT 25 का डिसीजन मेकिंग। 6 सेट तुम निपटा चुके हो, ऑसम। 7वां सेट अपन फटाफट निपटाते हैं। 19 to 21 पढ़ लो इसको, तुम्हारे पास पीडीएफ है वहां से पढ़ सकते हो, नहीं तो स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो। स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो 19th क्वेश्चन का। ये है 20वें का थोड़ा थ्योरी। 20th क्वेश्चन स्क्रीनशॉट, 21st का थ्योरी और 21st क्वेश्चन। इसको अपन शुरू करते हैं। पढ़ो, सब पढ़ चुके हो गया आई होप। सुंदरम स्टोर्स ऑपरेटेड इन अ गेटेड कम्युनिटी। ओके ठीक है भाई, सिचुएटेड अबाउट 30 किलोमीटर्स अवे फ्रॉम द मेन टाउन। ठीक है भाई, रिमोट है। The store owner, Mr. Sundeshwaram, whoever it is, यार नाम ऐसे अजीबो करीब, Sundaram as he was called by everyone, secured a space in the gated community through a competitive bidding process. ठीक है भाई, Residents Association led by Mr. whoever, जानबूझ के अजीबो करीब नाम देते हैं, selected Sundaram over 3 other bidders. Okay, selected Sundaram over 3 other bidders. So Sundaram won essentially based on his willingness to pay the highest rent. All right, he wanted to pay the highest rent, hence he was selected. Desperate to augment his post-retirement income, Sundaram agreed to pay a very high rent, banking on the prospect of generating exceptional revenue from the gated community. See, he wanted post-retirement income, so he, gave a lot of rent. बहुत ज़्यादा rent दे दिया, ठीक है, and on the prospect that he'll generate a lot of revenue from that. Simple. Sundaram was awarded the contract to establish the store, with provisions for a review every 3 years. All right. Feeling elated during the meeting with the Residents Association to finalize the contract, he enthusiastically committed to offering a 15% discount. Like गई ना तेल मैंने 15% discount 15 on all groceries and stationery, cementing goodwill and reinforcing the partnership established through the contract. Okay, the association was delightedly taken aback by his generous assurance. Sundaram hoped to make the difference, or rather make up the difference through volume. Although his sales were strong during the initial months, he soon realized that the SUV owning residents of the gated community primarily made their purchases at large branded retail chains in the main town. कंजूस लोग हैं यार, branded retail chains पे जाते थे main town में. These stores offered deeper discounts, okay, which he could not afford to compete with. However, gradually Sundaram store became their go-to store for daily essentials and occasional urgent big purchases, such as replacing a broken mixer grinder. So now people are getting used to this store, okay? But in the first place, they want to go to the city and get things at a deeper discount. ऐसी कुछ बात चल रही है यहाँ पर। 19वां सवाल. While reviewing his monthly accounts, Sundaram realized that he was barely breaking even, primarily due to the substantial rent he was paying to the residents. Okay, he realized that while his sales were stagnated, रुक गई थी एक नंबर पे आकर. The rental costs were contractually scheduled to increase every 3 years. He was determined to do something about increasing his profit. See, every 3 years the rent is supposed to increase and it is bound to increase. Real life है हर साल increase होता है 10%, 5%. Here it is happening every 3 years, but it is happening, right? So he needs to do something about increasing his profits. Which of the following will be the most sustainable way to increase Sundaram's profits? यार सुंदरम को अपना प्रॉफिट बढ़ाना है, कोई झोलझाल करे बिना, इतनी सी बात है. ये ऐसा कुछ ऑप्शन ढूंढते हैं. He should meet with the Residents Association to negotiate a lower rent. उड़ के this guy took a very high bid on the rent. So going back on that, it looks foolish. Honestly, this should not be the correct option unless necessary. He should advertise about his shop through a leaflet in the gated community. See, it's a gated community. People are aware there's a shop. So honestly, advertising it, that is additional cost. On top of that, it might be futile. It might not be needed. People know about a shop. तुम्हें अपने gated community में पता नहीं है नीचे दुकान है. That's how. People know about it. Out. He should remove all the discounts he was offering and sell at the maximum retail price. See, that was a very generous discount that he offered, 15%. Now, if he removes that, the customers would be dissatisfied, but it would be like, okay, fair. He needs to maintain his profit lines, profit margins. Could be a potential solution. I will not discard option C. Fourth, he should offer to procure items unavailable at his shop from the town on resident's demand. If the resident demands it, then this guy procures it and brings it back, then delivers it to the customer. Too much of time. By this time, the customer will end up going to the shop in the main city. वहाँ से लेकर आ जाएगा. Rubbish, not a good option. E, he should introduce cheap Wednesdays where he will sell groceries at 40% discount. See, already because of very high discounts, he is not able to, he's just barely making or rather, breaking even. 40% discount kar diya, he's gone for one day. So people might wait for Wednesday and take things on Wednesday. That's true. But that will not help him increase his profit. Not really. Doesn't help out. Option C shall be a clear winner. That's your answer to this question. समझ में आ गया होगा. Okay, 20वां सवाल. To increase his profits, Sundaram diversified into selling vegetables. Oh, भाई साहब सब्जी बेचे. आलू ले लो. Anyway, earlier a vegetable vendor used to visit the gated community. Okay, there was a vegetable vendor who used to visit the community, visit once every week. Okay, the vendor, after seeing dismal sales, dismal मतलब बहुत ही घटिया sales, ever since Sundaram started selling vegetables, stopped visiting the gated community. हफ्ते में भी वो एक बार आता था, नहीं आने लगा, बंद कर दिया. The residents association did not like losing the rent they were receiving from the vendor. Okay, the vendor was paying rent also. So now that vendor is not coming, the vegetable vendor, paisa nahi mil raha hai. Okay, additionally, the maintenance staff of the gated community benefited from receiving vegetables either for free or at extremely low prices, as the vendor reluctant to take back the unsold stock. He didn't want to take it back to home, so he chose to distribute them at little to no cost. Kisko? To the people, these maintenance staff of the gated community. So that was an additional benefit for the society. Why? Kahan gaya? This enabled the residents association to retain maintenance staff whose attrition means people used to leave a lot, chhod ke chale jate the, was increasing with more gated communities coming up in the nearby area. So these staff members basically, जो तुम्हारे वो रहते हैं ना, the guards, they left jobs because there were a lot of other gated communities. That problem was also solved because this vendor used to give them free or vegetables at very low prices. Okay, so this is the case in point. Now, which of the following options will best address the concerns of the residents? Residents का concern address होना है. Who no one cares about this जो बंदा बेच रहा है. Best addresses the concerns of the residents. This is important. Arising out of Sundaram getting into selling vegetables. Now, the problem of the residents association should be addressed, which has been arised due to Sundaram getting into selling vegetables. Yes, so they need to fix this. The residents association should request for bids from various shop owners to open another grocery store in the vacant place. See, there are already two people. Or apna banda kaun hai? Sundaram is our guy. Second, there's this vendor. Now opening it for a new bid for new shop owners, increasing complexity, a lot of things, not really the best option. Out. The residents association should ask Sundaram to use the erstwhile space for selling vegetables and pay rent for the same. Okay, so Sundaram again will have more burden. He'll have to rent out that erstwhile space, the other space that they have, old space. He'll have to pay more. Secondly, he'll not be able to give the veggies for free to this guy, to the guards and everybody. So that's a cost on Sundaram. At the same time, it is not solving the problem of the guards. Out. The residents association should impose a fine on Sundaram since he was not contracted to sell vegetables. See, by no means he was told that you cannot sell vegetables. So, imposing a fine, it is very punitive. You cannot, impose a fine without a mistake. This doesn't seem to be a very, sensitive, what should I say? This does not seem to be a very sustainable option. Option D. The residents association should discount the rent for the vegetable vendor to increase competition and ask him to continue. This is very smart. Very smart. They have offered a discount the rent for the vegetable vendor. They've discounted the rent, so he will start coming back. So the problem of the guards is solved. The vendor is coming back, so he will also now pay the rent. Awesome. And now there is competitive pricing also. So now there will be a competition between the vendor and Sundaram, to sell better. So they'll have to again reduce the price. Very smart. These SUV owning people. This seems to be a very good answer. I would have ticked it from here. But let's see. Let's eliminate option E also. The residents association should ask Sundaram to give a specific quantity of vegetables to the maintenance staff for free. Boss, this is again in a way punitive. It will be unfair to Sundaram that boss, you have to give it for free. Unnecessary demands and unnecessary, how should I put it, burden on Sundaram. So this option also gets eliminated. Option D shall be the correct answer. Okay, last question for XAT 2025. Sundaram is a happy man now. Wow, you guys also happy, aren't you? He has managed to get contracts with 2 more nearby gated communities. Shabash, new gated communities. He feels like the grocery king of the suburb. However, his happiness is short-lived as Rushim, a new startup, begins making waves amongst gated communities. Zomato, Swiggy, Blinkit, this, that, very relatable there. Okay, this app-based startup promises to deliver any grocery item within 15 minutes, leveraging its own large warehouses. Earlier, Rushim was confined to the main town, okay? Main town tak hi seemit the, they were only till the main town. But now, the startup has expanded its delivery services to the suburban areas, including gated communities where Sundaram operates. They have reached here. Of course, for the suburbs, Rushim promises delivery within 15 minutes. No, not 15, 60 minutes, given the distance. Fair, okay. Though not an official slogan, the rumor in the market is that Rushim's founder inspired her employees by shouting Rushim or Crashim, but pushed them through that door. Essentially, brick and mortar company should be thrown out. Sundaram started losing business to Rushim. He felt rushed, pushed, and was wondering if his business would come crashing down. Okay, that's a very genuine concern. What should Sundaram best do to ensure that his revenues do not come down due to Rushim? Okay, this is a very difficult situation. This is an actual real-time, very real-like situation of a lot of brick and mortar companies that is facing this because of Blinkit, Swiggy, Instamart, or Big Basket for that matter, or other competitors as well. Alright, what should Sundaram do to save his revenues? Sundaram should not bother since the nearest town is 30 kilometers away. No, not really. Rushim has started encroaching into his area. They have reached the 60-kilometer range of that gated community. Sundaram should explore starting his own delivery startup. Finish him! Dedicated to the suburb, competing with Rushim. See, Rushim is a big company. They have expanded. This guy is a very small company. Starting his own delivery startup, too much burden, not easy. He's a shop owner. Come on, he's not an MBA from a top B school. Sundaram should employ a few helpers who will do the delivery of his products within 10 minutes across the 3 grade. Yeah, this looks a good option. Within 10 minutes, lesser than 15 minutes, lesser than 60 minutes. And he can hire a couple of helpers because he's making a little bit of profit. Very good option to be ticked. Let's see. Sundaram should demand, you should tick and go, by the way, in actual exam, tick and move. हर चीज eliminate करना जरूरी नहीं हमेशा. Sundaram should demand that his rent be reduced to 1/3 since Rushim has free access to these societies. This is absolutely rubbish. He's saying, reduce my rent, मेरा rent खत्म कर दो, because some other competitor is making ways into your society. Absolutely rubbish. Sundaram should start giving discounts on every product he sells. Already he was offering 15% discounts. He's paying heavy rent. Giving more discounts, frankly, his business becomes unsustainable. Out. Option C is your only potential answer. That's your answer. And that's it. XAT 25 is done and dusted. इतना ही था DM में. Do you think it was very tough? Frankly, cracking DM is not a tough task. See, the only challenge here now for you would be कि boss, sorry, इसको और fast करना पड़ेगा. Yes, you have to assess the set even quicker. Tip the answers. Keep it simple. Do not go for, very extreme options. One, do not go for unethical options. Make sure you're taking care of profitability and at the same time, keeping it customer centric. Also, in the question, read this part very carefully. And whatever conditions, company ka vision kya hai, if it is customer centric, if it is, hospital patient centric, all that gives extremely beautiful cues to solve it. Asan hota hai, it's not that difficult. I hope this is clear. See you in next whatever lecture we promise to give. See you.